episode of the Richie and Antipuna show.
Hello, everybody.
We are very brave for returning.
Welcome to the show.
Yeah, we have some local stories for you today that Richie wants to share.
We're going to bring you a story that we reported on 3 weeks ago about the proposed dump site that they're planning to build on Church and Aramingo Avenue. And if John Ryan, who was one of the partners in the building, hoping to bring a new trash facility to the Bridesburg community, was looking for public input during his recent meeting, he got an earful. Neighborhood residents quickly made it known that they did not want this facility in their community. And in fact, many complained that they never approved any such project. And like I said in our previous broadcast, I don't think that anybody knew about the zoning hearings.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Residents initially seemed ready to just shut down any proposal Ryan might present until State Representative John Taylor chimed in. And he said if the audience did not listen to the representation, that Ryan might tell the city zoning board of adjustments that he didn't get a fair chance to make his pitch. But even though the plan had some benefits, which some in the room acknowledged, the plan to accept the municipal waste along with construction waste upset many.
Well, they're also saying that they're going to lower the number of trash trucks coming through the city per day, and that's what they're kind of arguing that point. And they were saying 325 at one point, and then they lowered it. So that's why they're trying to convince the people in the area. But I don't think they want it. People don't want any more chemical plants or any trash facilities or anything around the neighborhood. And that's their argument, and I agree. Going over what had happened at the meeting, there was a lot of talk among the residents there. Not a lot of people showed up.
No, few residents did show up, and that was very disappointing.
It was, but I was notified on Facebook by a lot of people that they were angry and upset because they didn't receive any knowledge
Nobody
or
knew
notification
about this.
of this meeting.
The immediate community had no idea of this meeting.
Right, and it was because I guess there wasn't any funding for flyers or posters or anything to be handed out to people.
If you're going to have a meeting, you have to put it out there. I mean, we did what we could on our Facebook page to put the word out there, but more things could have been done in preparation for this meeting, because if you're going to have a meeting for the community at a community center, how about the community be present?
Right, and there's no local newspaper there, which is really sad. I mean, we used to have the Guide years back, and I guess who bought it out?
I guess the Daily News, whatever.
Yeah, because there's no newspaper circulating, and even my grandma can't get information. You know, she has to
is circulating.
Get someone to get the
read Spanish. You don't know.
Right, and the Port Richmond Star is the only thing close to it, and they don't necessarily.
They don't get it.
But they don't necessarily post things that are happening just in Kensington. So it's a small paper, so they can't really put everything in there.
Even if they did, they don't get it.
Right, so it's hard for people to find out what's going on. That's one of the reasons why we started this show, because we want to be informative and we want to let people know what's going on in their community
in the Kensington
different
community,
resources.
and the whole Philadelphia, all the communities in Philadelphia.
Right, and we may focus a little bit more on Kensington because that's our hometown, and we're a little bit, it's like our baby. But we try to give people different resources, places they can get help. Acknowledging other organizations, nonprofits that do good things for people, and try to get people involved in the community. And that's really hard when you don't have a paper or flyers or anything sent out. It's really hard for people to get that information.
Well, basically what we're hitting at is that at this community meeting, the 26th District Police Captain assured the people that were there that, take your community back, that they will be listening to all and any leads and investigating them. So we actually, we received a lot of leads and tips on the Facebook site in which we gathered it, and this is my first action was I called the 26th Police District because I remember that he did say that at the meeting. I was greeted on the phone by a very polite, I guess, desk sergeant, and who she told me that to call SVU, and what I told her was that the captain said, to call the 26th Police District, and she said, well, right now, no, he's not in. So what happened was, I said to her, was there an email address at the police station where I can email to? Unfortunately, they don't have an email address. So basically, she told me to call SVU. So I actually called John Darby's office on Sunday, and he wasn't in, but I got an answer machine that left a phone number for a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week hotline. I called this number, and this was about 9 in the morning or 8 in the morning, and I was greeted again by another woman who's, took my information and said that she would pass it along. Upstairs was her exactly what she said. I'll pass along to upstairs. I said, great. Hung up the phone. I monitored the site all day, and then by around 12 o'clock, more information surfaced, and it was actually the information, that picture that the one woman put up on her Facebook, on a comment on our Facebook page, which I asked to take down, and if she could send it to me. So she did, and what we did was... and
along with other information we had.
All kind of information. But, so what we did was we went down to... I called back at 12 o'clock. And a man answered this time, and he said, well, actually, this isn't the number you're supposed to be calling. I'm going to give you another number to call for the hotline. I said, okay. So I started calling that number at 12 o'clock, and the man actually told me, you probably won't get an answer now because they're probably at lunch. Well, I don't understand that either, because if it's a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week hotline, if somebody's taking lunch, somebody should be sitting there. Somebody should have took lunch at 11 so they can sit there at 12 for the next guy to take lunch, whatever. It shouldn't be unmanned if it's a 24-hour hotline is what I'm making. But at any rate, I had that phone. I was calling that phone number all the way up until 2 o'clock. So for 2 hours, I called that phone line. Never got an answer. So then what me and Heather did was we went down to the SVU building to hand deliver this information.
And we documented it to see what would happen, because we had had some complaints from other people, fans of the site, saying that they were having problems giving information that was never taken.
Right.
They didn't get called back, so we figured let's just do it the way everybody else does it.
And see if what they're saying is true, because they can say whatever they want. So we went down ourselves. It's documented. We have it on our Blip TV, the Richie Antipuna Show .blip.tv site, and you can go up there and see it. We went to SVU and we documented it. We went inside and we were greeted by a woman behind a glass, and she was in scrubs, like hospital scrubs. And she told us that they were closed. I didn't get that one, but they were closed. So I said, well, what happens if there's a sex crime or something? Like, what do? They wait till Monday morning to come here? And what she said basically was, well, yeah, you'll have to call 911 or come back Monday. And then we told her that we were from the Richie Antipuna Show and that we were actually documenting all this. And at that time, she came from behind the glass out the door and introduced herself as a corporal. Now, she's a corporal in the SVU unit, and she works in scrubs. She don't have a police uniform.
Maybe she's a nurse.
Well, that's what I thought, because the SVU is next door to a hospital, so I'm thinking that could be somebody just walked in from the hospital. So I asked her who she was, and she said her name was Corporal such and such. I wrote her name down. And basically, at that point, she took our information and made copies and gave us back the originals and all. And from there, I actually got a call earlier from the homicide unit, and they said if we didn't have any luck down at SVU, or if we weren't happy with what happens down at SVU, to immediately come down to homicide unit. So we did, and we were greeted by a detective at the homicide unit, and she was very nice to us and took us upstairs and listened and took all the information. And by the time we left, we were satisfied that our information was taken seriously.
And that they were very helpful, very interested in what we had to say, and they are doing everything they possibly can.
And they implore everybody to call them at 215-686-3334 if they have any information, and they'll take your call, or they'll come out to see you, whatever the case may be.
Well, the police are still saying to call the number, the you know,
the tip line. Right, you call any of them numbers, 911.
If you run into some problems, the last resort would be homicide. And we're not suggesting in any way that the cops are not doing their job. We believe that the police force, along with
the SVU,
detectives,
and
everybody,
Citizen Crime Commission,
they're all out there working on this case. But the system for the hotline on Sunday
is not working.
Was not working.
No, and this is what people on the Facebook page are saying. We told them this, and we told them that 2 weeks ago, blah, 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 and this and that. And they're not listening. So that's why we took our own little venture down there. And before we even went, we called, but it led us to go down there. And
we hadn't planned on that.
No,
it kind of fell in our lap, and that's
like
everything's been falling in our lap, and we're just taking the initiative to kind of guide it through.
Take the extra step to just find out if what people are saying is true.
Forget about it, just like other people do.
And in our experience,
whatever,
it was true. You know, that's what happened. So we're not saying nobody's doing their jobs, not like that. Listen, we're all in this together. We all want this crumb off the street.
We were not accusing nobody. The picture that was going around was not us. We did not place it on our website.
We give information, and that's what we do. We keep you informed. So we're just keeping you informed of the events that took place on Sunday.
Right.
When we went down to SVU and homicide.
Right. And just to let you know, please don't be discouraged. If you have any kind of information, no matter how small or silly it might seem, please just get it to the right people.
But it might be very big.
It could be. So, and there's a big reward now, so, you know.
The reward has been just lifted up to
$30,000.
$30,000 for the arrest and conviction, but there's also another reward.
The $7,000 just for the arrest.
For $5,000
plus
$2,000 for Frank DeChico for just an arrest.
Just an arrest.
Let's focus on what you're doing here in Kensington on the Kensington Strangler stuff, and we are going to do a documentary on Mr. Bucceroni. Glad I got that right. On his life, because when he told us about his life and what he's been through and what he does now, I was actually inspired. So we're gonna do a documentary on him, and you guys will see that soon enough. But so what do you have planned for tonight and for the rest of this week, and up until the Kensington Stranglers court? What are your plans and your organization's plans? I know you're going to be out doing it, but what I'm saying is I'm asking you as a viewer.
Sure.
So just to let them know, what are you going to be doing from now until the Kensington Stranglers court?
One main thing is still engaging the people that is the target population. We're going to go up and down, talking to people about reporting it. We're going to share it as the police put out the reward. The Citizens Crime Commission is going to put out a flyer, an official flyer from the organization, stating the $37,000 reward.
Okay.
So we're going to be pushing that in communities of interest where we believe the guy may be loitering or hanging in. And another thing we're talking to people, and we've had some success with that, is offering people amnesty.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people that live that lifestyle may not be violent criminal offenders, but they may be criminal offenders. And they have warrants for their arrest, absconder from state parole or probation, and they're hesitant to come forward.
I believe that's most of the problem
in
the area, that people ain't coming forward because of that.
And what we found out is there's been a little bit of it where they have called. We had a girl that you and I bumped into. She called 911, and no one ever came.
No response.
No response. So we took it down to special victims. They had just coincidentally happened to close on Sunday, so we met you.
There's another person that went on Sunday and they were closed.
And but we wind up going.
Homicide.
And
Homicide division. I did get a call from you, and I told you that we were down there, and to just come down there, and you came down. And
it was just a coincidence.
It was just
it's
an amazing
we end up in
story.
the same places, you know, just like you ended up in this place for whatever reason, and we end up in places, and we don't know why.
Destiny. It's destiny.
This is my destiny. Oh my God, I'm in trouble.
Well, what it is we were able to get someone who was initially contacting the police and got no response. We went down there. There was just fairly little response, and then we wind up physically taking her down to homicide, where she was able to give up important information to homicide.
Right.
So
we can't
and
disclose
they were very
right
receptive
now,
of that.
Sure, and these are things that we don't disclose. Many times there's open investigations. I don't get into the actually finding an investigation or the directions it's going.
Absolutely.
We got point A to meet point B, and we'll sit here and we made that connection.
That's why it's important to let people know too, if they do have detailed information or any tips.
Don't leak it on
don't
Facebook.
Tell people.
Go to the authorities.
Go to the authorities with that information.
Well, I tell a lot of times people, don't accept no. If you call 911 and no one comes, then take the next level, get up,
Right.
and either go to a police station and insist, speak to a supervisor. Go, and we happened to go down to homicide, and we got guys, and they were very nice to us. For 34 years, I've been an advocate for victims. And what I've noticed is initially, if the victim is not considered important initially, and in this case, you have so many victims that it gets up pushed on the priority list. The news media got it, became a frenzy.
And I believe if the news media didn't get involved, it wouldn't be as far as it is right now.
Well, if let's just say this, considering the number of complaints, they would have had to act on it.
Right.
I know the police.
But I don't think there would have been that many number of complaints if it wasn't on the media.
If it was just one or two, no big deal, it would have been investigated.
Right.
But it wouldn't have been at the investigation this level.
That
But
is
considering
now.
the victims, and what I found out in society, that you have two types of victims. You have innocent victims, which is the little kid riding a bicycle and a stray bullet comes and hits him. Then you have the victims that are engaged in criminal activity. They're still a victim, but they're not an innocent victim because
Right.
somehow their lifestyle put them at risk.
And I'm glad you hit on that, because people have been arguing on our Facebook page about the word innocent victim.
I agree that they are innocent victims of murder.
Of
not
murder.
that they're innocent in their lifestyle choice.
Right, they're innocent of, no matter what their lifestyle or their choice of lifestyle is, it's still not, it still doesn't condone murder. So,
Sure.
Right.
they are an innocent victim of murder.
The little old lady that gets run over by a drunk driver,
Right.
that's an innocent victim.
Right.
The other victims don't deserve to die. No one deserves to die. But what happens is they put themselves at risk. It's like kind of like you go in a shark-infested water, and you know you're shark-infested water, but you put a big gash on your arm before you jump in.
Right.
But I just don't agree with saying that they weren't innocent victims of murder, because they were innocently doing their own thing, not hurting anybody at the time, and then they were murdered, and they did not deserve to be brutally murdered at the hands of a monster.
That's true. No one deserves to be brutally murdered. What it is they put themselves in a position that puts them in high risk. Especially when you have someone who's living on the streets in a violent crime neighborhood. They're jumping into strangers' cars. What we try to do is prevent it from happening.
Right.
That's
Sure.
our main goal. And when these girls, I have value for them because I know the suffering that their families are going through because I went through it.
Yes.
We all do.
We all know that.
I was going out there. Some people came out, and not get into who's and what's and where, but some people came out only after it became a newsworthy event. Other people from day one, from the first homicide, have been out there, and before that, before there was homicides, we used to go out there and talk to the girls about getting into rehab, changing their lives around, get a GED, get off the street, get
Right.
into counseling, and these are all preventive maintenance things.
Right.
And the reason we do it is because we care, because we know that they didn't start out this way. This is where they're at now, but
Nobody-
they
And
started
it's
out.
because of their addiction, and that's the problem. It's a disease. It's something that you can't mindfully overpower. They try to get help, and I've seen it happen to really good people. Good people do bad things sometimes. They make choices that they have to live with. The repercussions are for years, with a drug addiction,
Right.
especially when you're talking about those type of drugs that they were doing.
There was a commercial or a public service message in the 80s, I remember, and I always remember it. It was a little kid, you see him playing, and you see him running, and in the shot comes a cop getting ready to grab him, and it says, "When I was young, I didn't want to grow up to be a junkie." They don't, nobody wants to grow up to be a
Right.
junkie. Nobody wants to
That's
grow up
not
to
the
be out
goal,
there on the
and
street. No.
why anybody would do it for the first time is still
They're
beyond
actually
me.
victims themselves.
But yeah,
They're victims of,
It's a disease.
right. they're
But it's
victims.
a lot of times we found out it's depression,
Sure, it's
anxiety, all these
There's
factors.
all these reasons:
There's-
molestation,
we could
child
we
abuse.
could do an hour
you could
show on
yeah,
that,
that's
you know what I
that's
mean,
a whole
but-
other show. And
Right.
and the bottom line is that they do need help, and it just takes over their whole entire life to the point where who would willingly go and sell their body and put themselves out there to live in the street like that and
No one.
destroy their looks? And I mean, there's beautiful girls that are on the app now that used to be beautiful, and look at them. And, you know, they take no pride in their looks. They leave their children, their families.
They're stuck.
They're stuck.
They're stuck.
You know, and they're human, and they have people that love them. And if that was one of my family members, I would do everything in my power. But if they say no, they don't want the help, there's nothing you can really do. So you sit back and you wait for the phone call. But when you get a call and they say your daughter was brutally murdered,
nobody anticipates that.
That is just horrific for any one person to deal with. You know, I can't imagine what their mothers and their other family members are dealing with right now. But that's where I kind of just have the debate with the innocent, because I believe that they were innocent victims of murder.
It's the not knowing. The family member would disappear for 3 or 4 months, and I would assume, I hope for the best, no contact, assume the worst, but hope for the best.
And they know their families are suffering, but they can't really focus on that because the addiction takes over. It's a physical, mental addiction. It's not something you can just say, I don't want to do anymore. And that's why I feel the sympathy, because I've dealt with this in my own personal life with people that I love, and it's very painful. You can't do anything. You're helpless. So I know what it's like to go through that, and I continue to go through that with people that I care about. So I would hope that people out there would also be sensitive to that and not just think that their life isn't as valuable as another human being. To somebody else, that life is very valuable.
All right. Okay. Well, thanks for stopping by, Greg.
No problem.
Thanks, Greg. And we will
always
see you
appreciate
soon,
everything you do, and we will see you on the streets. Yeah. All right, that was our friend Gregg Bucceroni, and he just left. And great guy. What do you think about
he has a big heart. He does everything out of the kindness of his heart. He doesn't get paid for anything.
Paid for any of that.
You know, if anybody happens to see him on the street, wave hi, take him a coffee.
He's also down there with C.B. Kimmons, who also has a big heart and doesn't get paid. And these guys have been out there for years.
Right. Sort of like what I do here.
Right. No pay.
No
That's
pay.
right. Me too.
Yeah.
So at any rate, what's going on in the community corner?
Well, there's an actual website that people can go to, phillyrecyclingpays.com. It's a recycling program that if anybody in Philly recycles, they sign up for this program and they give you a sticker, I believe, to put on your recycling bin, and you can trade it in for money. It's not actual physical money, but it's gift cards, I guess, that they give you for different merchants in the area, and by shopping at these places.
Pharmacies, nightlife. Wow.
Yeah. So
cultural attractions are taking a movie.
There's over 150 local businesses, so you can save as much as $100 or $400 a year by shopping at these businesses. And I really don't know the details of exactly how it works, but it's...
Well, send them to the website. Where's
the
that
website is www.phillyrecyclingpays.com, or you can call 1-888-769-7960.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, I'm always looking for things for people that they can earn money back for what they normally do, and it's not really hurting them.
It's a shame that Greg took up so much of our time, but that's all we have for the community corner this week.
We'll add
Greg
other
just
things
kept
next
on
week.
talking and talking. But that's all right. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
Now moving right along to Family Fun Day. What do you got going on?
The
Family Fun
Philadelphia
Day?
Home Show's coming.
Home Show.
That's a great place to go. I went there plenty of times. And
I never did, but it's a great place.
Well, we're going to go then. We'll take all the kids down there. It's a good place to go. You get to see all the new things that are out for the year coming.
What's that, like the flowers? No, that's the flower show.
No, not the flowers. But they
you
have...
see the cars and stuff? No, that's the car show.
It's the home show, things for your home. Like they have different companies come in, and then it's a bunch of stuff to do. They have food, you know.
Where's that coming to?
To the Pennsylvania Convention Center, 1101 Arch Street, and it's $13 for adults. Children 6 to 12 is $3, and under 5 is free. And they also have coupons on the PhillyHomeShow.com website.
What's this new segment we're coming up with now?
What were you thinking?
What were you thinking?
There's so many people out there that do things, and I guess they're just not thinking when they do it. But
and you just have to ask them, what were you thinking?
I read this one.
Remember who was that? Our science teacher in elementary school used to always say. Mr. Hankey used to always say, what planet are you from? But we're not using that. We're using... What were you thinking? Okay, what do we got there?
On November 30th, the man entered a Bank of America at 1000 Cotman Ave in Burham and presented a threatening demand note before fleeing without getting any money.
So he gave him a demand note, demanded money, and as he handed it to him, he ran out of the bank.
That's what it says.
What were you thinking?
And he also, after this, he unsuccessfully attempted to rob another Bank of America.
What date was that? The same day?
December 1st.
So it was the next day, 2 days later.
And that was on Rising Sun Avenue in Lawndale.
The same thing? Just handed him a note, ran out.
And he didn't get anything again.
Didn't get anything again. What were you thinking?
What was he thinking? And they said he's armed and dangerous, so he even had a gun. I don't know if he, at the last minute, got scared and figured, what am I, he probably thought to himself, what
was I thinking?
But what led him in there, he got the guts up enough to go in and say he's still going to be charged with attempted. If you have any details on that.
All right.
Okay, now we're going to end the show, but before we go, since it's New Year's Eve, actually tomorrow is New Year's Eve. Yeah, I just wanted to know what your New Year's resolution was.
I'm not one for New Year's resolution, so I don't have any.
You have to give something up.
I don't give anything up.
You have to. That's the New Year's resolution, or you have to say you're going to do something either.
Okay, then I'll lie. I'm going to give up smoking.
Oh, well then that's like me saying I'm going to give up crack.
You smoke crack?
No, but
you
that's
heard
what I'm
it here first. Heather Barton
cigarettes.
smokes crack. You heard it here first.
No, well I said I was going to give up cursing.
Yeah, I don't know about all that. I'm actually going to have
I can do it. Nobody believes me, but I'm going to try my best. So.
Okay, well, that's her resolution. I don't have one. I don't have anything to give up. I'm tapped out.
I think you should give up. I'll think about it. I don't know. I'll let you know.
All right,
there's a few things.
know.
I'm going to give you a list.
Let me know.
Okay.
And we'll see if we both do it.
So that's all we have for you today. Hope to see you next week. Have a safe and happy New Year.
Happy New Year, everybody. Bye. Thanks for watching. And don't forget to watch on blip.tv.
Thank you.